All right. Good afternoon, folks. On behalf of Beyond Baroque Literary Arts Center, I'd like to welcome you all to the Wanda Coleman Theater. Yes. And to the second day of the 6th annual Southern California Poetry Festival. Second showcase of the day featuring Women Who Submit. Any noise for Women Who Submit? And Punk Hostage Press. Make some noise. My name is Jimmy Vega. I'm the Associate Director of Beyond Baroque. I'd like to start by acknowledging Beyond Baroque's presence on the ancestral and unceded territory of the Tonga peoples. We acknowledge the wrong done to these peoples through settler colonialism, genocidal practices, and the violent disposition of their land. And as an arts organization, we are committed to uplifting Indigenous communities, their stories, and cultures. For those who don't know, Beyond Baroque is Los Angeles' oldest literary arts center located here in Venice, California. Founded in 1968 by George Drury Smith, first as an experimental literary magazine, before reimagining itself and becoming the literary home we know it as today. We are based out of the original Venice City Hall and help support writers and help cultivate new writing through our extensive program of writing workshops, readings, and showcases. We offer a number of workshops online via Zoom, such as our free weekly Monday night fiction workshop, facilitated by Raquel Baker, and our historic Wednesday night poetry workshop, currently facilitated by Arthur Kazakian. Similarly, we offer several paid in-person and online intensive workshops throughout the year. Next week, we'll feature a special critique workshop with Dorian Locks and Kim Adonisio. And later in December, we'll host a workshop with poet Timothy Steele, so please do come back for that. And aside from workshops, we offer over 100 readings throughout the year here in this space. And currently in our Mike Kelly Gallery upstairs, we're exhibiting Anonymous Stellar Ravines, Volume 1 by Byron Baker and our poet-in-residence, Will Alexander. So all of this really is only accomplished by the support of our community, by the support of our members. So if you're not already a member, I do encourage you to become one today. You can check in with us in the bookstore, inquire about becoming a member. It starts at $60. And really, the members here at our space allow us to keep all this work, continuous work. You know, we have 2 days of full poetry programming, and it's all free. So we really appreciate our community and our members for all of that. And then lastly, but not least, a big thanks to all of our staff for making this weekend possible. Quentin Ring, Ivan Salinas, Michelle Raphael, Eric Alberg, Genesis Perez, Rhiannon Chavez, Nick Foreman, Tyler Newfield, Leon Rubenhold. Let's give them a round of applause because they're making it happen tonight. And I think that's it. We have 2 incredible presses, hubs, communities joining us for the second showcase, and we're really excited to showcase them here in the Wanda Coleman Theater. So up first, we have Women Who Submit, and to help us kind of get that started, we have one of the co-founders of Women Who Submit with us here today. Please make some noise for Ashaki Jackson.
Thank you so much. It's always nice to be in community at Beyond Baroque. For those who are unfamiliar, Women Who Submit, now in its 13th year, started off as a response to the absence of women writers being published in the literary sphere. We decided to come together over charcuterie, as one does, to figure out what is submitting, what it takes, how long it takes, the tools you need, the types of sugar that really encourages the work. And since then, we have created submission parties all over the nation and in Mexico, Europe. I feel like there's someone in Canada, but I'm not very sure. Canada and Mexico. Thank you. So now we have scores of chapters of people actively working on getting their writing off the screen and into the hands of publishers and editors and grant makers around the world. So here's to literary activism. In the last 5 years or 6 years, Women Who Submit branched into publishing to make sure that we were also offering women and non-binary writers the opportunity to get their work out. So we have anthologies. I'm not sure if they're available here today, but anthologies that we have been sharing as encouragement to other writers who are afraid of taking their work out of the drawer and sharing it with others. This is also our demonstration of our commitment to this work. This afternoon, we have 3 writers who have been with us for a majority of the 13 years of our work, who are going to share their creations. Briefly, I'll be reading their bios, and then they can come up in the order that I've introduced them. Hazel Witham is a mother, teacher, writer, artist, and slam coach with a BA from Brown University and an MFA from Antioch University, Los Angeles. She has been an English language arts teacher in LAUSD since 2001, was a California Teacher of the Year finalist in 2020, and facilitates educator workshops on building a sustainable teaching practice. Hazel is a proud member of Women Who Submit. She is also the co-creator of the Take a Minute Substack, and her memoir in verse, The Truth About Secrets, came out in June 2024. Ryane Granados has always called Los Angeles her home, and her writing finds its roots in her love of her community. Named the 2021 California Arts Council Established Writer Individual Arts Fellow, her work has been featured in various publications. Her storytelling has also been nominated for a Pushcart Prize and showcased in KPCC's live series, Unheard LA. As the winner of the 2023 Leapfrog Press Global Fiction Prize, her novella, The Avs, is officially out now. Lisbeth Coiman is a bilingual author born in Venezuela. With a BA in Modern Languages from Universidad Metropolitana, Caracas, and a master's in education from Northwestern Oklahoma State University, Coiman was an adult ESL teacher for 25 years. Her first book, I Asked the Blue Heron, a memoir, explores the intersection between immigration and mental health. She has been an active member of Women Who Submit since 2015. Please welcome Hazel to the microphone.
All right. Hello, everyone. I think I just anytime I'm nervous, I'm just going to imagine Ashaki introducing me to whatever activity I'm about to do because, the energy. Thank you so much for that beautiful introduction. I am a proud member of Women Who Submit, and I'm so honored to be here. I am going to be reading from my memoir and verse, The Truth About Secrets. And it zooms in on the day in middle school when everyone found out my mom was gay, and I thought it was the worst thing that would happen to me. My dear mom is here in the crowd, and so thank you. All right, here we go. Get ready to return to middle school, everybody. Prologue, Pride Before the Fall. It was a gray June morning, but West Hollywood was bursting with rainbows everywhere we looked. Luminous men aboard flowered floats, short shorts and high-top boots, chaps and flannel muscle tanks unbuttoned to bear bright beating hearts to wide open air. Women saddled atop motorcycles, bandanaed hair, leather vests, and leather pants. Motorcycle boots I fell in love with. Some stacked two to a bike, arms around waists, calling themselves by names they'd embraced. The power of that Milky Way flashing by, the cheering, whooping, whirling wildness of celebrating something that was supposed to be hushed and secret, quiet and closeted. It was 1985, and I was 10, towing the boundary line between childhood and adolescence. That morning marked 16 years since the Stonewall Uprising of June 1969, the revolt against police brutality and societal bigotry, though 10-year-old me knew nothing of that yet. How a protest could pave the way for a parade was something that would take a long time to understand. How we all loved each other in that public space, cheering, whooping, whirling, and wild on the sidelines and streets, smiles like starshine, so bright that the secrets in our mouths were swept out and up and away for one glorious day. And now middle school, the bottom drops out. February 1987, 6th grade. The day is hummingbirds and hope. Steady pulse of, will he ask me? Will he ask me? Will he ask me? In the locker room, I lean into the mirror with other 6th graders, drag blue eyeshadow across lids, arrange the features of the girl I see into arched eyebrows, flirty pout, 17 magazine cute, try to pretend she's me. I wait for the bell, peg and repeg my jeans so they tight bite my ankles, over my scuffed kids, wondering how, if, when will he ask me? Practicing in my head how I will say, yes. Practicing the pause, the pursed lips, bright eyes, blink, blink, like those gorgeous actresses on the big screen. Then, a girl I barely know, one of Layla the Beautiful's many friends, comes toward me. She is flanked by 2 others, looks at me from eyes to toes, toes to eyes, lips curling up at the edges, a little jerk of her head, hand on hip, that war pose girls assume so many times a day, readying for battle. Says with a mean, smug smile in her voice, "Can I ask you something? Is it true about your mom?" So, I head to the only place you can head to on a middle school campus, and that is no, not the cafeteria, way too public, the bathroom. Right? So I flee the scene, I have to figure out what I'm gonna do now that the secret is out, and I flash back to the talk I was 6. My mom and I sat on the side of her bed. My feet didn't reach the floor. I remember thinking it was so simple the way she said it. Sometimes a man and a woman fall in love, and sometimes a man and a man fall in love, and sometimes a woman and a woman. She didn't use the word lesbian. For some reason, I don't know why, I remember thinking of old-fashioned nurses, maybe from the 1950s, in white A-line dresses with those starched white crowns. That was my image of a woman falling in love with a woman. My mom had fallen in love with a woman, Sharon. Sharon. It didn't stay simple long. So as I move about my day, I try to scramble to my friends and tell them the truth before they find out from someone else in the rumor mill. And here's a chapter about I don't tell them what it's really like. How Sharon makes my mom laugh. How they hug, kiss, call each other sweetie pie, and my Quonset hut of love. What's a Quonset hut? An army hut? What? How we have family meetings and they listen to my feelings. How when I told them carefully, so as not to insult them, that I thought I might be straight, they howled with laughter and said, "Hayes, you're what we gays call a flaming heterosexual." How Sharon can diffuse any too tense situation with a joke, how wise she can be. How they snap at each other sometimes, and I want to crawl away. How they show me what true love is. Mm-hmm. And here's a poem that's a little ode at the end of the story of this wild day that really did reveal to me how when we share our secrets, when we are in community about something vulnerable, it's actually an incredible liberation. And it turned me into an ally and an advocate. Quonset hut of love was what my mamas called each other in the early years. Quonset huts. Prefabricated temporary military structures, 170,000 or so built in World War II, turned song of sweetness between them. These two women who turned to women before women-loving women turned chic. Quonset huts, corrugated, galvanized half-domes, unassuming from the Quonset outset, requiring no skilled labor to assemble, shippable anywhere. Later, the surplus found new homes in countless places. Semicircular, rust-resistant, flexible interior spaces. Something that could pop up and protect as needed wherever. I never knew where they got this term of endearment from. Never asked in the depths of childhood's thrum what made these two women, one Brooklyn-born, one Texas-torn, sing songs of corrugated, galvanized half-domes. My mamas, my maps, my refuge, my home, all bare-boned, basic, rust-resistant, flexible, spacious, all peace and love and war zone ready. Thank you. Please give it up for Ryane.
That was amazing. Thank you, Hazel. I wanted to preface some of the things that I'm reading with the tribute to the community building that we're trying to do in Women Who Submit. I served for a long time as the chapter's director for Women Who Submit, but the only reason that I had the courage to do that was because a Dr. Ashaki Jackson told me that I could. So thank you. And that's essentially what our organization sets out to do. They see something in each other that we don't readily see in ourselves. When I endeavored to step into huge shoes and take over the role of chapters director. I'm a mother of many children, 3 in the house, 2 out of the house, 5 kids. When you have 5 kids, it's really a million kids. And so I paired that with my full-time job of being an English professor, and I continued to believe that I wouldn't be able to labor over my work and deliver it to the world. But again, having people in community that saw in me things that I couldn't see in myself eventually resulted in not only being an longstanding participant of our program, but the creation of 3 anthologies that we've been able to produce and labor over and deliver to the world. So I'm grateful for the opportunity to share here. I'm going to open really with a piece also about mothers. What Hazel also neglected to share is that her mother taught at my high school. We made that connection. So we'll do a little section on motherhood. And then I will close with an excerpt that is really in tribute to Los Angeles. I grew up in Los Angeles. My novella is a tribute to Los Angeles, and in particular to South LA. But if you really grew up from here, you know that it's called South Central LA. And I'm hoping that it will give you all a window into the community that has given so much to me. Second Ave. Oh, I also have to say that this isn't my actual mother. Sorry, I preface this all the time. When you're writing fiction, you have to preface this. Or maybe it is. All my life, I've called my mother by her given name of Mercy. When I was younger, we lived in my grandparents' house with my uncle, my 2 aunts, my cousin James, and my grandmother's 3 birds, Janice, Rocky, and Bird. Everyone, including the birds, naturally called her Mercy. I suppose I simply picked up on the trend, but somewhere along the line, a mother usually checks in and corrects the error of her child's ways. Not Mercy. She decided that mother categorizes women into a stereotypical role imposed by society in an attempt to stifle their efforts to break free from the invisible prison bars of homemaker and servant. She told me this when I was 7. Now it's my responsibility to explain this state of affairs to my little sister, Prose, who looks at me with the same blank stare I imagine I gave Mercy. And yet Prose nods, as if she understands, which is simply an additional sign that she has evolved into a full-fledged member of the Hunter clan. Sometimes we slip up and call her Mom or maybe Mama, and other times we are relieved to distance ourselves from the Reebok-wearing, dust-detecting, anxiety-stricken nurse who is our mother. I am confident that Mercy is the only nurse assistant in Southern California who has a fear of diseases, germs, bugs, dirt, household cleaning products, and LA smog. We have been taken to the hospital for ailments ranging from oversleeping and lopsided cheekbones to recurring hangnails and the common cold. She has diagnosed us with diseases we cannot pronounce and healed us with both traditional and herbal remedies learned from her nursing courses at the junior college. She drives us crazy, but she also brings order to our daily lives. A healthy balance between breaking down and growing together is the essence of the Hunter women. When Mercy reaches her final day, a day she often claims will be premature if Prose and I continue to test her patience, she has made us promise that we will not wallow in grief, we will not have any regrets, and we will not let the mortuary adorn her in fuchsia or pink lipstick. For some, it may be morbid to discuss the funeral arrangements for your perfectly healthy 38-year-old mother, yet for me, it's relieving. It's kind of like an instruction manual for memorializing Mercy Hunter. Mercy leaves instructions for everything. She constantly worries that we won't be prepared for whatever crisis may occur in the event of her absence or untimely death due to an unpronounceable, incurable disease. There are instructions strategically placed around the home for the stove, the washer and dryer, electric outlets, warm water and hot water, and master lists accompanied by backup lists with emergency phone numbers for the entire LA County. Once a month, we run drills in the event of a fire, earthquake, or freak Santa Ana windstorm. Prose has been crowned the queen of escape because she has broken all the Hunter records for exiting the house in the fastest time. We had a party in her honor because parties are another of Mercy's many traditions. Mercy says life is a combination of celebrations and unfulfilled expectations. She has committed her mothering years to ensuring we have as much celebration as possible. Life doles out a healthy dose of disappointment. If you celebrate the little things, you'll cope better with the loss of the big. Next week, Mercy is throwing a party for me. I came second in her spur-of-the-moment natural disaster drill. Thank you. And this section is dedicated to all of you as well as the Avs. It's 11th Avenue. Sometimes Prose and I go for window walks. As we walk, the sun settles behind the 405 and the street lamps buzz until they can finally find the strength to burst open with light. Then, as if an electrically charged current runs beneath the roadway of the Avs, porch lights, kitchen lights, and living room televisions, headlights bound for home, and city lights leaping across the sky shine brilliantly throughout the streets. Prose has decided that the evening tide is God's daily 4th of July. You can see so much more when you walk the streets than the portrait revealed from a passenger seat window. You can see the goings-on of families sitting down to dinner, friends swapping saucy secrets, marriages breaking up, husbands returning home, babies' first step, boys' first kisses, girls' first taste of the reality that their fathers are not invincible and their mothers don't have all the answers. When window walking, the soul of the world rests between the drawn curtains of Los Angeles. Miss Mage lives in the window 3 sprinkler heads away, on the first floor behind the oakwood door within the pale yellow walls sprouting up from the forest green carpet seen through the 4-foot glass pane is Miss Mage quilting the kinfolk of kinfolk into a lineage of linen. A family quilt to be passed down from Ave to Ave as the covering for visiting grandchildren, the drape protecting the house from the quick-witted wind outsmarting the loose brick designed to plug the apartment hole. A family quilt that tells the story of stories for all who climb under and listen. Roxanne lives in the window above Miss Mage, only 17 but on her own because the suits say there's no longer room for her in the foster home, and so the suits lower her rent and send her checks every month, and the suits come by to make sure she goes to school and has no one else living there. Roxanne will be 18 in a few months and will have to find a business suit of her own. Roxanne has a lover who she kisses at night. He's 19 and he's enlisted in the Marine Corps. When he visits, he scares off the stoop squatters who wait for her to walk home from school. They don't whistle anymore, but they still watch. They watch the straps of her backpack trace the sides of her breasts, and they long to be the weighty books that bounce off the back of her acid-wash jeans. While Roxanne's lover fights to defend her magnificence, she enjoys the hungry eyes that reside in the stoop squatter's stares. She rolls her hips and bites her bottom lip, giving them the thrill of a lifetime, as if a supermodel on her own personal runway. When she reaches her steps, she makes sure to look back. She makes sure that they're positioned, and then she blows their minds. Softly, as if kissing satin, Roxanne presses the palm of her hand against her full lips and gives wings to a flirtatious kiss. Her admirers lean over the railing of the stoop as if catching a foul ball hit into the stands at Dodger Stadium. They cheer and slap high fives and then quickly turn to make sure Roxanne's lover isn't patrolling the Avs. He knows nothing of her daily ritual. When he comes calling, he finds her waiting in the window, waiting and reading. The books once housed in her bouncing bag now lie sprawled out on the living room floor. For Roxanne, these books hold the secrets to life. Roxanne reads and waits for her lover's return. She reads out loud to herself so that the breath of each story can dance a waltz in her ears. She reads until she hears the starched stiffness of his soldier uniform scaling the stairs. "Hey, bookworm, tell me a story," he says. And she does. Roxanne retells the accounts of Tish and Fanny on Beale Street and Romeo and Juliet in Italy. From beginning to end, he listens and then rewards her with a kiss. He kisses her in the dimly lit corners of the room and of her body. Their shadows melt together, creating a silhouette of tenderness for all who walk by to see. Sometimes when Prose and I window walk, Roxanne peeks over her shoulder, similar to the way she glances at the stoop squatters, and she winks at us. She winks while we watch until her lover's hand fumbles for the curtain's edge, sliding it closed and capturing their love inside. In the window across from kissing Roxanne live Marcus Katora and their 6-month-old daughter, baby girl. When she was born, they had yet to decide on a name, but when Mercy stopped by to pass down the crib that James had slept in and I had slept in and Prose had played in because she liked the way the night sky colored the spaces between the crib bars more than she enjoyed sleeping, Mercy gave baby girl the name of a queen. Born on the day of Sauda's passing, baby girl's given name is Danielle Sauda Hall. Soda because it's only fitting for a baby that looks doused in dark chocolate. Soda because it creates a legacy of strength and power to be reborn in the future of the Avs. Soda because it was simply the right thing to do, explained Mercy. And Danielle after Daniel because everyone needs a good Christian name. Like Zora, Sauda is the type of name a baby has to grow into. Until then, for her sake, I'll call her Baby Girl. In the window below Baby Girl's crib, you'll find the Viramontes women untangling their tresses. Angela, pronounced Angela Viramontes, is in my grade and has been in my PE class for the past 3 years. Every day, no matter what the occasion, she wears her hair in one long braid that she winds and winds and winds again until a neat bun rises above the nape of her neck like a freshly baked donut, almost too perfect to eat. I hate the bun she wears to camouflage the curls. Our window walking exposes a wave of thick black hair long enough to sit on and strong enough to swing from. If I owned her windstorm of hair, I would spin in circles, letting its length cloak me like a superhero's cape. I would frustrate my enemies by flinging my hair on their desk as they tried to complete their vocabulary words during journal writing time. I would run my hand from scalp to hair's end and roll each strand around my index finger to get the attention of the cute older boys. I would brush it 100 strokes a day to keep it shine like the fashion magazines suggest. I would wash it with strawberry shampoo and let the suds sink in until the entire bathroom smelled like the strawberry patches of Orange County. I would do so much if I had Angela pronounced Angela's hair, but I would never, no matter what my sisters did, or mother did, or brothers expected, or father demanded, wrap it away from the eyes of the world. Every apartment has 4 windows that face the sidewalks paved up and down the Avs. Each window is a camera lens revealing a picture of the Avs' soul. When Prose and I window walk, we're photographers taking mental photos, and Prose often cups her hand into circles around her eyes as if she's a top-secret agent peeking through binoculars at unsuspecting targets. When the sun reaches the base of the 405 and only the moonlight guides our path between the spread too far apart street lights with flickering bulbs struggling to stay alive, and when the cars have found their way home or the porch lights have sighted the last key in the lock, it means it is time to end our window walking tour. Prose grabs my hand because she's old enough to exist as an undercover agent and curious enough to watch Roxanne's lover cup her entire breast like a baseball glove. Yet she's scared of the night sounds and shadowy images that accompany our return home. The humming in the street lamps seems louder, the arguments in the apartments are clearer, and the figures from the bus stop or the next block are threatening until they get close enough to reveal their familiar face. I would never admit this to Prose, but I need to hold her hand too. Thank you. Introducing Lisbeth.
That is the sweetest young adult novella you will read. So please get it. I also have women who submit a brief tribute. I took 14 years for me to write this book, and I was at a loss sending this book out for 2 years, and I really felt like venting on Facebook. And Dr. Jackson sent me a message saying, "Send me your book, I will look at it, see what's wrong." And Dr. Jackson took to help me put this book together, and it was my first baby. I have published more after that, but this will always be that book where I put all my love and took so much to write. And the Women Who Submit has become my community, my encouragement. I am a writer, a published writer today because of Women Who Submit. In my condo in Palos Verdes, I take one corner of my blanket and slide it across my body. Then I pull my feet over the bed and onto the carpeted floor. I stand up and turn to look at the day through the northwest-facing window of the room. The blue of the sea fills the rectangular view, but not its roar. It's the sirens I hear. Every house I have lived in has had a particular sound. In Caracas, frequent shootings broke out at all hours of the day, but especially during the night, when muggers terrorized those coming back late from home in the alley behind the building where we used to live. The heavy traffic noise didn't reach us because we lived in the north side, looking at El Ávila. From time to time, a scandalous choir of macaws flew to our balcony to delight us with their show. Our first house in Canada, the one we bought on Danview Court after 3 years of renting roach-infested apartments, filled daily with the sound of young children coming in and out with their little feet with their little matted feet, their contagious laughter and annoying trills. We never saw them again. The children we left behind in a haste when my husband received an offer too good to refuse. I moved away from the window and walked to the bathroom to brush my teeth, take a quick shower, and change into fresh, clean clothes. Downstairs, I set the coffee machine for 3 cups of the dark liquid, one for now, one for after lunch, and one for mid-afternoon. While I wait for the machine to cough out the coffee, I hope it will stir me awake, shake the pool that's tugging me down. Chill out, Lisbeth. It's coffee, not liquid happiness. I tell myself. This entire ritual takes me there. Is continuity despite the many changes, that everything remains the same, that I will be okay. Like the coffee I favor, I am a light roast, but full body and robust. I open the patio door and step onto the cold terracotta floor with my bare feet, feeling the warm air outside. A leaf blower cries loud somewhere in the neighborhood, predicting a morning without a visit from the hummingbirds. I have cleaned the rectangle of dirt patio and planted several drought-resistant plants. It's beginning to look like a garden, but without the butterflies or the swans or the janes and rays or the chirping of robins that used to inhabit my garden in Oklahoma, the last casualty in this series of arrivals and farewells my life has turned into. Inside my living room, the art on the wall reminds me of my homeland and its colors and sounds, its luscious vegetation, the spectacular landscape of a country gone awry. I close my eyes and feel nostalgic. This longing for a place that was once familiar and vital to me now lives inside of me between the lungs and the heart and feeds from my oxygen and my blood. I remember that place where the ocean water is warm and the vegetation green 365 days a year. I miss the sun over my head at high noon, and the mahogany trees and orchids, politically incorrect humor, parties that last all night, and friends that pop up in my apartment and announce looking for condoms in the middle of the night as if they were in a weird Seinfeld episode. Apart from memoirist and book reviewer, I'm also a poet. And this is Uprising, Alzamiento, my second book, a bilingual poetry collection dedicated to the freedom of my country, Venezuela, now under a terrible dictatorship. One of the things that helped me survive my brutal childhood was my neighborhood. And in my poetry, I always bring my neighborhood as one of the best parts of me, the best of my memories. And one thing that is common among all Venezuelans is that we all like arepas and we all like baseball. And you might wonder where the baseball players go in winter. When I was a kid, all your baseball players will go and play in Venezuela in the winter ball. In this field, the young men of my community learn the strategy of our beloved pastime. The pitcher fidgets with the red ridges, feels the smooth white leather yielding to the digits, communicates with the catcher, squatting behind home. He interprets the signals of defense, a mixed breed of hitters, aggressive or patient, fill the bases, while others sacrifice to advance peers from tree to tree. Steelers take the second and an occasional third, like little old does. Chavista tenía que ser ese maldito ladrón. The outfielder may not see action, fall asleep at the job, or catch the occasional home run with bare hands, closing the inning, keeping the feeling of the ball folding in his hands far too long. In the next inning, a pull hitter sends a fly to La Vieja Periche's porch. Perched like a hunting cat on her chair, quickly takes the ball and closes the door. No begging or protest is enough to warm her dry chest and return the ball. The game is postponed. When it resumes another hot afternoon, the score is kept in mind because now this is war. Frustrating, the opposing team promises to square the third base. Still, the loser must take a chicken from La Vieja's Periche's yard for the sancocho that we later cooked in the hills. A home runner with pigeon feet requires a designated runner to jump over the 3 concrete walkways, touch the 3 tree trunks, slide home short of slamming his head against the curb. The scream of "out" emerges from the soul, from the sidewalk, calls for a double play, fill the air thick with the overpowering hum of the cicadas. What happens in the infield next molds this generation's character. This is how the war ends, with the stars of the game, a long lineage of shortstops born in this neighborhood of team players who coordinate, hustle, defend, even with deceit if it is necessary. Announce once bound throw to first or third for a spectacular triple play. He's out. Game's over. Let's steal that chicken and celebrate. Before I finally moved to my current home, I have had 23 homes in the last 32 years. Yes, this is what being homeless means. The last neighborhood that I lived before buying my home was in Holy Park Drive in Inglewood. And this is from that neighborhood. Happy children. 3 girls and a little boy learning to run after beautiful young women, all with the moon sleeping on their shiny skin. 2 strands twist and colorful berets on their heads. Their laughter, shrills, fill the whole way with the freshness of happy children. I opened the door of my apartment to allow their beauty into this poem.
One more time for Lisbeth, Hazel, Ryane, women who submit in the house. Thank you, Dr. Ashaki Jackson, for grounding us today. Up next, we have Punk Hostage Press. Yes. And to tell you a little bit more about Punk Hostage, we've got our first reader, publisher of Punk Hostage Press, A. Razor, was first published as a street youth poet in the early 1980s punk scene era of Southern California, where he put his first chapbook out with Drew Blood Press. He published 11 more titles with them from 1985 till 1996. Razor co-founded Punk Hostage Press with Iris Berry in 2012. Since has edited other writers' work, as well as releasing 6 titles of his own poetry and prose. He has also hosted creative writing groups in jails and shelters since 2010 with Words as Works program he helped found in that year. Please make some noise. Back at Beyond Baroque, A. Razor.
Hey everybody, that was some really good stuff. Let's hear it again for women who submit. I'm just gonna read 2 quick ones, and then I will announce the other 2 readers. This one is called Precipice. Flying through the skies above all the mayhem below, what a luxury it is to fear something we can't feel. It's been like this for so long. Some felt protected, even unaware. Most felt the edge, even if they could not see it. It has been felt for many lifetimes. Memories handed down through our combined DNA. How could anyone not know? We dangle and dangle, sometimes ripping at each other, mostly ripping at the air around us with clawed hands and feet, trying to breathe, trying to catch a breath. It has been suffocating our world for many millennia. We conjured gods and demons to explain away the darkness in our own hearts. And now the combined beating is almost about to become still, like a held breath, just before a final gasp, just before blacking out, not knowing what we will see again if we ever come to, if we ever open our eyes, somewhere over that edge that we finally take our last fall from. This is called Crying on the Lunaria. This tree grew beautiful, money and more money. It came in waves, flowers all around, smelling up the sky, lying upon the ground, a testament to bonds of love. We still remember it in every ache of hungry-hearted loneliness, how the beauty of it all once humbled us to find our happiness within. It's those memories we hold on to when the moon pours forth, full and bright, standing over the valley, illuminating the last of the harvest that never finds a home, as the coyotes wail from the highest ridge above us, and that first cold wind makes us hold on to the beautiful memories even tighter than before. We are older and further apart, and the wind knows the forgotten names of all the lovers we ever lost, and the rocks wait us out as we die among the shadows, as the freezing tears cover our bones. So, yeah, the first time I ever came into Beyond Baroque, just so everyone knows, full admission, I was hiding from the cops outside. And this was 1977. They were looking for me, and I scooted up in here, and it was a Wednesday, so you know what that means if you know about Beyond Baroque. They were about to have a poetry workshop, so I hid out in here and met Wanda Coleman and did my first poetry workshop and met a bunch of Philomena Long, and I think there were some amazing folks at that thing, and it just opened my mind to this stuff. So I'm really grateful to be here. I've had a long history with this place, but this is probably the most meaningful moment I've ever had in here. I'd like to introduce OR was born With words overflowing from her lineage, she studied English literature and for a short time was a high school English teacher. She is a mother first to 3 adult daughters, an activist, and a roller derby player for local and borderless teams that proudly represent Indigenous heritage and diversity in the sport. And she's also my oldest daughter, and I'd like to introduce her to read here at Beyond Baroque for the first time. Thank you.
Thank you. Don't cry. This is only about my, I think, third or fourth reading. I published last year my first book. So, thank you. Thank you. And I wasn't raised by my dad. I found him about 10 years ago. And one of the most shocking things was when I found him, I found his poetry books, and I also wrote poetry. And when you hold our poetry side by side, his are kind of, mine are the questions, and his were the answers. So, it was beautiful. I was born on both sides of the fence, teetering on a razor's edge. My mere existence was in defiance. My father's last battle cry, or my mother's last goodbye. Was I abandoned or was she? But who remembers the lost daughters, born from teenage angst and suppressed convictions, pink-blanketed truth wrapped in misconception, fist tight on the stolen silver spoon? When does the child become liberated from generational afflictions in the blood and in the water? Thank you. I never knew her. I don't know if her skin felt delicate, like a thin silk dress, smooth like pressed linen. Her scent. Did the air smell of lavender and loss when she left a room? I would rather imagine what she may have been before me. Am I only the mirror image of her faults? Could she see all that was forbidden in my eyes because they were his? I know the night touched her face more often than the sun. I am a mosaic of her darkest secrets. The music called her home. I can feel it. I doubt she found a love that equaled her own. If there was an ending, I pray it was kinder than my beginnings. I hope she landed in a place that recognized she was all of what might have been and nothing of what was left. In her was more sacrifice than fault. I want her to know that I made it down the river into my mother's arms, that I became more of light than darkness, and that I loved her for not choosing me. Life was not beautiful before this. It was mascara running down the faces of girls, stumbling out of dark alleyways. Me Too echoing in deaf courtrooms, Black lives beaten into black asphalt. And all lives banter, dribbling off the lips of our elders. Our leaders holding the walls of hatred together with shaking morals. Yet we came out in masses, shouldering the burden of change, setting fire to our cities to bring light to injustice. A new voice, a generation rising from under us. We lift them high enough to reach the tops of mountains that we may never see. But it's there in the eyes of suckling babes, hope delivered from the ashes of a burning nation. A new declaration for the good of all must triumph, and the oppressor must cease its hold on the neck of this country. Even when I take up the sun with my curves, I feel unworthy of her likeness. We are taught the shadows best suit our rebellion to shrink. with our swelling ambitions pouring over an underwire bra, your eyes would still linger on the lack of space between my thighs. I curled my body into corners, wrapped my legs around men's egos, choked down my intellect for their comfort. You leave no room for sprawling limbs to grow here, yet in our womb you demand my walls to expand, to make a home. My flesh is my land, one you can never claim as your own. It is not a green pasture for unattended men to pillage and diminish. You will not raise your flag over my head and hold me to a standard you could not lie beneath. I have paid in full for your plight to dominate. There are no good girls here, only angry women, with the history of their ancestors burning in their bellies, with an unfinished fight raging in their daughters. Don't interrupt. We're speaking now. Thank you.
And now it's my, I feel like you're clapping for me. I don't know why. That was fucking amazing. Now it's my honor to introduce another writer that we published and someone who's been a good friend for many years. Richard Modiano served on the board of directors of Valley Contemporary Poets from 1995 until 2001. In 2001, he was a programmer at Beyond Baroque Literary Arts Center. He then joined the board of trustees in 2006, and from 2010 to 2019, served as executive director at Beyond Baroque. In 2019, Richard Modiano was elected vice president of the California State Poetry Society, and in 2023, he joined the board of directors of the Los Angeles Poetry Society. Modiano is the winner of the 2022 Joe Hill Prize for Labor Poetry and is a Pushcart Prize nominee. His collection, The Forbidden Lunchbox, is published by Punk Hostage Press, and he is one of the rotating hosts for KPFK's Poets Cafe. Richard is a rank and file member of the Industrial Workers of the World and a member of the National Writers Union. And my comrade.
Thank you, Razor. A word, poem for Iris Berry. You have to select a word. It will be talked about as little as possible and have a deep suggestiveness like nature, bloom from within itself. And at the edge of the fate encircling you, it will become darkly and sweetly ripened. Of 100 experiences, it always will be the sum total of only one. One teardrop becomes the harvest of all teardrops. A single point of red neon on Hollywood Boulevard on a dark evening is the light of the whole world. And after that, your poem, like a substance entirely fresh, released far away from your memory, the same as a chord plucked from a Stratocaster, the same as haze over the San Fernando Valley in spring, will suddenly begin to sing from its own recollection. We worked at a shitty job that paid good money and bonded over our hatred of the boss. And I got to know Royce during lunch breaks when we went to his favorite place, Ara's Armenian Hamburgers. A biker favorite eatery, I learned when Royce told me that he was in Satan's Slaves before he was busted, which explains why the guys came up to him and said things like, "Didn't I do time with you and Quentin?" No, man, it wasn't me. Say, wasn't you at that rumble with the coffin cheaters in Purdue? Bro, I missed that one. After work one day, he took me to the dive bar near his house in the BVN, the Barrio Van Nuys. And in the dim glow of the bar's neon light, he ordered 2 buds in bottles with the caps left on. He had his own church key, told the guy behind the bar, who asked no questions. And by way of explanation to me said, "Dude, this gives you a fighting edge, yeah? Yeah, Smack the mofo across the bridge of his nose, hurts like hell, bleeds like a faucet, but you won't kill him. He popped the caps and took a long swig, and I followed, and we sat in the bar's shadows. Royce's stories spilling out like a loose tap, tales of old haunts, old fights, and the time he lost a friend to a blade too quick for a bottle. He looked at me and said, "You ever fight for something?" I shrugged, trying to measure the weight of my own life against the stories in his eyes. "Not like you, man," I said. But he just laughed, a low rumble, a sound that carried all the ghosts of the BVN. Wage slave. Almost every member of my family, extended family, grandparents, parents, aunts, uncles, cousins, were wage laborers in the old country and the new world. They mined coal, hauled steel, labored on construction sites and as office secretaries, served the wealthy as domestic workers, clerked in company stores, cleaned offices and homes, took in laundry, even danced topless in Vegas floor shows. I joined the workforce at 15 and have been at it ever since, working as a dishwasher, fry cook, telemarketer, movie extra, babysitter, movie projectionist, serigrapher, artist model, landscape hand, proofreader, ESL teacher, program manager, magazine editor, executive director of a venerable arts nonprofit. And now, in old age, I'm washing dishes again. Kalaniot. A child reaches for her mother. The odor of cordite fills the air, and smoke hides the sun, and dust settles on the bright red Kalaniot, born with the child, growing with the flower, flowering with the child. I hear reasoning and screams. They have calculated the sorrow that a child can bear, so much dread without vomiting, so many tears without dying. There is a sound of footsteps walking through the rubble, black and blessed with horror. They are coming to uproot the flower. They are coming to vilify the child. After the cataclysm, for S.A. Griffin. Truth will get communicated via old means, not new media. It will be shared by word of mouth and on paper, not online. Current social media is saturated. There is too much of it peddling lies and fear and loathing, too much commercial media play, too many channels that offer people too little choice. A new underground will emerge like it once did, from smart people living off very little, living in ruined and cheap neighborhoods, communicating via old experimental media. And there will be cafes and hangouts where kindred spirits and fellow travelers can commune with one another, bump into one another, talk and argue with one another, share sounds together. Let me see. Oops, I lost my space, my page. Well, thank you. Here we go. Maybe play some old jazz riffs. They can be present in person and engage in old debates about the future and have direct human encounters, not mediated screen encounters. New repertory theaters will emerge, reconnecting old plays by Beckett or Brecht or by new living theater troupes, putting fresh spins on old staples, reinventing a new vanguard, inspiring new audiences while re-energizing old ones who have not entirely forgotten what it was like the first time around. What would begin again is a new poetry underground, where a new critical culture can be incubated, a will to live differently like it did before, making our cities interesting and democratic again. Or perhaps it will not happen. Perhaps nothing like this will ever happen again. No. Perhaps it is no longer possible for poetry to go on, having lost so much. Try again with the old answers, fail again, fail better. And even if poetry cannot go on, it will go on for maybe another 5,000 years. Surf's up, and that's surf with an S, S-E-R-F. Oppression isn't a competition or a scale. One person's entire family, save 2 or 3, was wiped out in the Holocaust. Another's suffered 300 years of slavery. Another lives under Israeli occupation. Another's grandmother was dragged off by the Japanese to be a sex slave. Another's people barely survived the Bengal famine. Another is harassed and hounded by immigration authorities. Another had their father thrown to H-Block in the 1980s and suffered torture. Another grew up in a shack in Appalachia. Another grew up on a reservation and got thrown out for being trans. It's not a question of who's more fucked. Everybody is fucked in some way. It's a question of getting together and ending fuckery, especially since all the fuckery of the last few hundred years has been caused by a tiny class of people whose numbers wouldn't fill a soccer stadium. When he comes for me, Rimbaud knew better than to save any of himself for the grave. He spent every resource to the last penny. He burned money, health, friends, family, sanity as so much fuel for the fire. When death came to take the poet, he got nothing, not even a man with his pride or common sense intact. When he comes for me, what will he find? No. As Gregory Corso once told me, always leave him laughing. So I will end with this. Comrade, I like to read and write in coffee shops, old habit, escape from noisy lodgings of bygone days. I share the place with the gentrified locals, fixated on glowing screens if alone, yakking about what's cool if with others, talking about dreams of screenplays and auditions with the eagerness of youthful promise. They pay me no heed, the old fellow in threadbare clothes scribbling in a pocket notebook with a fountain pen. The young barista, pierced, braided, tattooed, took the money and handed me a coffee. As we made the exchange, I said cheerily, "Thanks, comrade." Leaning in, glancing from side to side conspiratorially, the barista worker whispered back, "How did you know I was a communist?" Thank you.
One more time for Richard, Ophelia Rising, A Razor, Punk Hostage Press. All right, folks. Well, that was the second showcase of today. Thanks for being here. We've got more poetry all day, all night. All right, thanks.